Be careful, Al. The heir to this mark is heir to more than just nobility. For it was his ancestor who swore a blood oath to Morgoth. I am not the hero you seek. For it was my family that lost the war.
And it was mine who started it. Ours was no chance meeting. Not fate, nor destiny, nor any of the words men use to speak of the forces they lack the conviction to name. Ours was the work of something greater. You must see it.
All I see is an elf who won't put down her sword.
Come with me to Middle-earth, and together we will redeem both our bloodlines.
How? You're stuck on this island. You're still short an army.
That is all about to change.
Welcome to The Rings of Power with Mary and Blake. It's a podcast dedicated to the Rings of Power on Amazon Prime Video. So sit back, relax, and let's chat the glory of the Second Age. My name is Mary Larson.
My name is Blake, and if I could send Halbrand into space, I would. That man is just not great, Bob. I mean, seriously, just
not great, Bob.
I don't trust that guy as far as I could throw him. They put him into the sun.
I mean, he's something. He is something. I agree.
The fight scene was great, and I like the mystery behind it all, but 0.0 chance this guy is anywhere near normal. This guy is so far from normal that he can't even see the horizon.
I'm here for it, Blake. I am here for it. Oh, man, we got a lot to unpack in this here episode of Rings of Power. But before we do want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by MinuteWithMary.com. It is your one-stop shop for all things beauty and skincare. Just search the hashtag MinuteWithMary on your social media platforms of choice, and you will get to chat with me about all those things. And we do want to also remind you that you can leave a written review and rating in your podcast app of choice. It's going to help us be found by many other fans of the show. We're actually up to the top 10 podcasts for Apple Podcasts along the Rings of Power search. So we would love to get to the top 5 by the end of this week.
Oh, let's do it.
What we need is a couple more written reviews, and I do want to thank a few of our friends who have been able to write a little something. It just makes my heart swell. In particular, I had one that just made me so thankful because
you read it and it warms your heart a little bit.
We really do. We read all of these and we just are ever so grateful. So our friend who is Jay McKenney said, great podcast for the casual Lord of the Rings fan. I've read The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings trilogy, and Appendix, and I think you did a great job breaking the show down and making it accessible for the casual Lord of the Rings fan or young viewers. Some of us Tolkien fans can really nerd out, and Tolkien was very in-depth with his world. As amazing as Tolkien was, all of the details and names can be really confusing for some watchers and readers and easily turn people away from a great story. And they love our breakdown of Bear McCreary's musical themes and Howard Shore's influence playing such a huge role in this series. So we just want to thank you, Jay McKenney, as well as our other friends who've left written reviews. It really does mean a lot to us.
That's a big deal right there, all those reviews. Yes. I'll take that.
All right, on that note, let's get into the show. Episode, once again, Galadriel and Halbrand are picked up on a ship and brought to Numenor. It's the island king ruled by men. Things are really strained there, however, and the queen is not too happy to be seeing Galadriel there. Galadriel gets to figure out that Sauron's mark is actually a map of the Southlands, which means she needs to hurry up and get her booty there. She finds out also that Halbrand is supposed to be king of the Southlands. Things are getting quite interesting. The Harfoots are not so sweet after all, and end up telling Nori's family that they need to be at the back of the line because the stranger, he gets seen by everybody. Yikes. Arondir's captured by the orcs, and they're just having him dig. It's pretty much like that song from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Dig, 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 dig. You know that? That's what they're doing.
Nope.
You don't know? Oh, my.
No! God, please, no! No!
No Snow White.
Okay.
That's right, Michael.
Okay, Blake. Obviously, you haven't seen Snow White in a very long time, but my fellow Disney nerds know what I'm talking about. And pretty much all of Arondir's friends get killed by the orcs, and Adar is going to be meeting Arondir. Like, come on, guys, get some different names. Let's get some different consonants going on because your names are too close.
Sauron,
but anyway,
Saruman.
Maybe he's Sauron.
Adar, Adorandir.
I don't know. He's going to be the
Adirondack chair.
Adar is the leader of the orcs who is going to meet up with Arondir,
Or Arondir.
Arondir.
There you sure.
Whatever. Potato. Elf meets leader of the orcs. And that is the recap of episode 3.
So, as Mary has quickly put, and just, in a good fashion, the title of this episode was Adar, which is, like I said, the episode's name, but it's also the Elvish word for father, as a matter of fact.
Daddy.
And that actually comes into play not just for Adar, the character, but also, I think, for other characters in this show as well. We have Nori's father, who seems to, really cause some problems with his broken foot and how they may fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously referring to a father. And, of course, we also have Elendil, who is one of the most famous fathers in all of Middle-earth history as being the father of Isildur, who, as we all know from The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, is the guy who eventually cuts the one ring off of Sauron's hand and refuses to give it up. So, yeah, just a really cool title for this episode, and you would think, and it felt like almost, that the title of the episode it didn't relate to anything that anybody was saying at all of a sudden until the end. And then you were like, oh, I get it. I understand now. All right, the director was Wayne Yip. Now, Wayne is actually a really accomplished director, Mary, and he has his beginnings, well, not his beginnings, but he has a lot of experience with AMC and this kind of prestige television, beginning with the show Preacher on AMC, as well as Into the Badlands. And he has also directed episodes of The Wheel of Time, Doom Patrol, and Doctor Who as well, Mary. And then the writers, once again, also have some experience with AMC. The writers were 2 writers, Jason Cahill and Justin Doble. Now, you know Justin Doble's work, Mary, because he has written on the television show Fringe, as well as Into the Badlands, and also, Mary, and most famously, Stranger Things. He wrote on the first couple of seasons of Stranger Things. And Jason Cahill... where are my notes here? Come on, Blake. What are we doing here? Jason Cahill is a very experienced writer. Also wrote on Fringe, as well as ER, NYPD Blue, and also Into the Badlands and The Sopranos, as well as, Mary, an all-time favorite of Mary and Blake Media, Halt and Catch Fire. So lots of experience here, and you can see that they all kind of met Into the Badlands. So we have some really experienced, really talented writers behind this episode, including a really talented director as well. Mary, your rings rating. How many rings are you giving this episode?
I'm giving this episode a 4.8, which is the same that I gave the last one.
Okay.
Still staying on track. There were a couple of things that I didn't like about this episode. One in particular stood out to me. visually.
Okay.
So, and that has not happened where I've been like, oh, I didn't like how that looked.
Sure.
But it made up for it in other visual language. So
cool.
4.8. How about you?
I'm giving this one a 4.3. I'm sticking with my last rating from the last episode as well, just like you, Mary, because I think there's some really good stuff here, and then there is some stuff that's really clunky. And we can get a feel, we can see the DNA of where things are going. But oddly enough, Mary, we are almost halfway through this season. Next episode will be the midway point of the season. And I feel like, what are we doing? I mean, if we are this far into your season of television and this far into your storytelling, and we still feel like we're building in a manner that is like really slow, that's...
I didn't think it was slow.
No. I'm saying I don't think the story itself is slow, but the micro part of what they're telling is good. Actually, I think they're going on at a pretty good clip. But in terms of the macro story, it still feels like we're introducing new characters. We're still world building. There's a lot happening here. So for us to be almost halfway through, it's questionable what's happening here. But anyway, you're GBG. You're good. You're bad. And you're great.
All right. So my good is the Numenor score.
Oh, yes.
We obviously love it as we use it here in this show because it's so good. And also the visual landscape coming into that land. Those two things combined of how grand and how detailed and unique this landscape has been visually to us here in the Rings of Power so far, as well as the instrumentation that we hear for Numenor. I loved it. I'm here for it. Super unique and awesome. My bad is the slow motion horse riding smile that we get on Galadriel. I loved so much of it. Show me the hooves in the sand. Nice. Show me the horse's butt with her like teal blue silks flying. Great. Except then we get this slow motion grin, which made Galadriel look like a little kid on Christmas morning, but I don't know. I didn't think it was very flattering, and it just was there for too long. Like, what are we doing here? I love the sweeping shots, but at that moment, I just felt awkward. There's no way to say it. I just felt awkward in that slow motion spot.
Yeah.
So that was my bad. And then my great, bringing it back to Numenor, my friends, because I loved the costumes. I loved the rich blues and boldness. I loved the queen's outfit and her really unique crown. I loved seeing how the different uniforms of the men at sea and what that meant of their level. So just visually, the landscape and musically of this new land are all my goods and greats.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mary. Even the score for Numenor, I know you mentioned it already, but it just how diverse it is and how diverse it feels. It feels like a true melting pot of culture and sonic like language, if you will. And that is the visual treat of Numenor is in measure with the scoring Numenor, and it really is this beautiful landscape of characters and interactions and little alleyways and culture and just the even the architecture of the city is just stunning. I totally agree with you. All right, for me, my good is the fact that Galadriel exhibited something other than brooding or tough girl, like, if you know what I mean. Like, she's always been this person who is on the ball and ready to go and ready for a fight and just the tough girl. But she has finally exhibited something other than that. And she actually, and I agree with you, the visual of her smiling in slow-mo on the horse.
Oh, it just took you out for a moment.
It's like, that, you know what? You stayed a little bit too long on that, Wayne. Just a tad bit too long.
Reminded me of the ending shot of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban where Harry gets frozen on his firebolt.
Yep.
You're a wizard, Harry.
It's just, just a little bit too long, Alfonso.
It also reminded me of when the hobbits get back together when Frodo is okay and saved in Rivendell, and they're all just like slow motion hugging and laughing with each other.
It's just a little too much there, Peter Jackson.
I don't need the slow-mo.
So yeah, I agree. But the funny thing is that she finally exhibits some kind of emotion other than I'm a tough girl. And it shows that she is human, but not human, but she has real characterization. Like she seems genuinely excited to go for a ride on the horse, right? And her interactions with Elendil is the real emotions. They're actual tangible things. And the fact that Elendil can pull out a descriptor like that she rides. What does he say? It's what the hell did he say? It was she runs fast and blind like his son and his daughter. It's an interesting dynamic when you compare that to who she is in the Lord of the Rings series, and I just like the fact that we can pull those emotions out of her. And yet still see her kind of dork out over going to the House of Lore and riding the horse. I thought that was really cool. And my bad. One of the things that was really clunky, in my opinion, is the Halbrand reveal.
His kinglyship reveal?
His lineage, that felt super shoehorned in. And the fact that we keep relying on these kings in exile type feels, we did that with Aragorn. Okay, cool. Fine. And we're kind of doing that with Elendil already. He has this royalty lineage that is this big mystery.
There are so few people in this world that pretty much everyone's related to a king.
Yes, in some form or fashion. And even
if they're not, they're just going to lie and say they did it. It's before they had that 23andMe DNA test. Basically, the 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon is now 6 degrees of separation from a king.
Right. And it's not even 6 degrees. It's 3.5.
Yeah. Oh, of course I'm a king. Of course I'm a king.
Well, I'm a king. So it just felt very clunky, and it felt like, we need to give this guy some kind of significance. Yeah, he's a king. Sure. Southlands. Okay, great. I don't know. I just didn't like that. But my great is the fact that because there are so many characters, the show is still dealing in archetypes, and it needs something to continue to ground us in something that we know is close to our hearts, that we can immediately attach ourselves to in a big macro fashion. And that is Isildur is basically the Luke Skywalker of Lord of the Rings.
Why?
Because Isildur has these big dreams, and he wants to go. He wants to do his thing. He wants to get out there, and he's saving people, and he's like, I'm a pilot, or I'm a shipmate, or whatever, and he's really good at it, and he feels that there's something special, but there's this family member that's holding him back from doing the thing that he wants to do, and he just disappears, and he goes off to do whatever he wants. And don't be surprised if Isildur gets a chance to do the thing and he refuses to do it, because that is an archetype. That is the way that this is beginning is the Joseph Campbell story, the hero story. It's the thing where you have a person who wants to do the thing and is this great hero, and he refuses the call at first, and then something happens where he then must take the call. And for Luke Skywalker, it was Uncle Ben. Hashtag spoilers. Uncle Ben dies. Not Uncle Ben. I'm sorry. Uncle Owen. Uncle Owen dies. And he's like, okay, I'll go with you, Ben Kenobi. And he goes, and he becomes the hero. And the same thing is going to happen with Isildur.
See, I see him, instead of a Luke Skywalker, more as an Anakin Skywalker because of Isildur becoming power hungry.
Well, yeah, eventually, yes. But within the framework of this story, he is
Because Anakin has good thoughts and tries hard to prove himself, too.
That's true. You know,
so
that's
I
very
see him
true.
more Anakin.
Okay, you know what? Fair enough. Either way... Okay, so that is my great. It just, the fact that we're getting all of these characters, we're getting all these different places, and the show is giving us something that we can be comfortable with in terms of an archetype, and dealing with those archetypes in this vast world, in this vast, cornucopia of families and races and these big lands and huge mythos, and it's comfortable knowing that there's an archetype that we can rely on, that we can understand right off the jump. All right, Mav, you ready for the fellowship?
Sure am.
Let's do it.
Strangers from distant lands, friends of old, you shall be the fellowship of the ring.
Heather Wilson starts things off. The shots of Numenor took my breath away, combined with the score, #BearFlare. It was just spectacular. Watching the relationship building between Halbrand and Galadriel is also a treat. It will be terrific to see what these two can accomplish together once they stop fighting each other. I gave this one 4.2 rings. Definitely better than the premiere and still world building like mad. Look forward to the rest of the season 1 and more seasons ahead.
This one comes from Allison Fisher. She says, I'm giving this episode a very fine 4.6 rings. This episode really picks it up. It hooked me quick and did not let go. I can really see how they're setting things up for seasons to come, and I'm excited to get starting into the meat of the plot lines. My good is the stakes have officially been raised. When we wake up at the Rondir in the slave pits, we now realize that what's been happening all across the Southlands, and we fully see how far things have progressed right under the noses of the elves and men. We're really starting to see some character development with Galadriel as well, and I'm totally macking on Big Daddy Elendil. Oh my, he is nice. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call him Big Daddy Elendil from now on. I like this. Good job, Allison. My bad is the jerk-faced Numenorian bullies who try to take on Halbrand, only to get their literal faces smashed in, which brings to light his dark past as a warrior king.
Hulk smash.
In training. I like his past being introduced, but his thievery and those guildsmen just put me off. By the way, you could see it happening. His hand on top of the guy's shoulder, like you could see him literally unclipping that that was a really cool little detail that I was hoping that they would show, and they totally did.
He's basically Aladdin. He's just a pickpocket. He steals the dagger, steals the pin.
My great is the split between the glorious ultra slow-mo horse porn on the beach and bug-eyed Betty going completely buck wild on the elves. Now, hear me out. I don't like that she's killing them. It's awful, and it's gory. But she is freaktastically creepy interpretation of a warg. The original wargs from Peter Jackson's films were really cool. I liked the giant mutant hyena design. The Hobbit, on the other hand, took a giant flop in the wrong direction, in my opinion, with their Voldemort-esque slit-nosed wargs that were truly uninspired. But Betty? Oh, she's awesome. I had to pause over and over to really get a good look at her in all her lazy-eyed, snaggle-toothed glory. What a creepy critter. I love it when creature designers really take the time to create something truly amazing and horrifying. She gives me the heebie-jeebies, and I'm kind of sad we won't see her raging crazy again. And for anyone wondering, I call her Betty because you can clearly see she has engorged teats, an indication that she has recently given birth and is nursing warglings. Like I said, somebody clearly took time to really think out this creature, and they have hit the nail on the head. Well done! In truth, I could go on all day about the stuff I loved. I didn't even touch the Harfoots, which had quite poignant and touching scenes, but I'm going on so long, so I'll quit here.
The Harfoots.
Thank you so much for doing the podcast and giving me a place to yammer about it. And Mary, we have some voicemails as well. You ready?
Nice.
All right, here we go.
Hi, Mary and Blake. This is Heather Wilson from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Hi, Heather.
I'm a proud member of the Nerd Clan.
Thank you.
A longtime listener and first-time caller. Calling with a theory on the stranger, and particularly why I think he can be trusted. First, Nori's father's ankle only broke while the stranger was writing the symbol of evil in the dirt. Second, the fireflies only died after he created the symbol of evil as he continues his attempts to communicate. And don't forget, he collapsed too, as if the act of writing that symbol of evil corrupts him as well.
Interesting.
And then third, the wizards in later ages were tasked with terribly difficult work, and also the need to sacrifice others like Bilbo and Frodo, even if they didn't want to. Remember, one of your commandments, everything is for a reason. I agree that they've connected this wizard with the Harfoots almost deliberately, but the storyline usually buffers them from pure evil to protect their innocence. All right, that's all I have on The Stranger. I wish I could get into more of the current show, the current episode, but that's all for now. Thank you.
If we have learned anything, it is not to trust a bearded wizard, because they are ready to sacrifice you, whether you be Bilbo or Frodo or even our beloved Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Don't trust an elderly wizard.
By the way, I played the wrong sound for Heather as she was a new listener, so I got to play the right one. There you go. Okay, that's the right sound.
Hi, Mary Blake. It's Glow from Methuen. This is...
Oh, hold on. I got to play the sound for Gloria.
Your cousin from Boston.
There's Gloria.
For Rings of Power, Episode 3. I'm giving this one 4.5 rings. It's my favorite out of the 3 so far. My good is Galadriel on horseback. It was so awesome. She was so happy to be riding. Beautiful beach scene, too. I can't tell what is CGI and what is real location. My bad is that it seems like the showrunners are more... They want to do world building instead of getting the plot moving. It just seemed that way to me during this episode. And my great is Arendir. I really like him. Mm-hmm. He has got some serious fighting skills. I loved it when he flew through the air and stabbed that orc. And I wanted to know if you noticed something. I noticed that the Queen Regent's emblem on her chest is the same one as the opening credits. Because it's just one of those symbols, that is featured in the new opening credits, which I think is fabulous, Joe. Okay, that's it. Take care.
Interesting. And I am loving Arendir as well.
Well, thank you, Gloria. I did not notice that, so this is really cool. But Mary, we have some conversation here. First of all, but there's a big difference in a wide take, many different takes on the slow-mo for Galadriel.
Some people love slow-mo. I don't.
And some of you don't. And that's okay. And Mary is one of those that don't. But I think there is a valid conversation to be had here about the showrunners and their intent on the world building of the Rings of Power. And here's what I'm going to say. I just started the show The Boys, and Mary, I know you haven't watched it, but it's a show about superheroes, but like if superheroes were like not good people, like they were just normal people like you and me, and they just happened to get powers, and some really bad stuff happens. Mm-hmm. But within an episode, I was hooked on the characters, where they're going, the story, the mysteries behind it, because it was exceptional writing. In this case, I'm not sure if the Rings of Power has gotten there yet, but what I will say is this episode felt a lot more focused, and it felt a lot more intent on giving us some more meat on the bone for the characters that we already have, for the most part. Because Elendil and Isildur and their stories are new, but they're through the lens of Galadriel. So they you could see how they can converge, right? Do you feel like this episode was a lot more focused, or do you still feel like they're in the process, the showrunners are, of world building and expanding the world?
Half and half, man. I'm here for half and half. It still is super early in this series beginning, so if they're still expanding the world and introducing us to other people, I'm okay for it, especially because we know that the series is going to continue for several seasons. I'm okay taking our time, and I do like that we've gotten to expand some relationships with people by this point.
Yeah, it feels like... It almost feels like they're going to do we're going to focus on... Like they took the first 2 episodes to introduce us pretty much to everybody, all the main people that in the areas in which they're going to operate. And then from for episodes 3 through 8, they're going to focus on a certain amount of people per episode. So in this particular case, we didn't have any interaction with the dwarves. We didn't have any interaction with Celebrimbor or Elrond or Gil-galad. We didn't have any interaction at all from any of that. And I feel like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to. And this show is doing something really funny. We kind of already hit on it, where it's like, it is moving at a really good clip. But because the plot hasn't been really forwarded at all a whole ton, the macro view of it is that it's kind of moving at a glacial pace. Even though there's like, we're jumping around from place to place and person to person doing thing after thing. I feel like we're finally starting to get somewhere though with Arendir and
I'm loving him.
What's happening in the Southlands. By the way, which is actually Mordor. The Southlands is actually Mordor. Mm-hmm. I did not know that.
Oh.
So the fact that I didn't realize that until they showed the map.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's Mordor.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the
Southlands to me is like a big country, and Mordor could be
a state,
region.
a city. Yeah.
You know, like we live in the Northeast of the United States.
New England, let's say it right.
Okay, New England. Rhode Island.
Is the tower upon which they were standing, the elves standing, is that like the tower for Sauron's eye?
Oh, I don't know. I would hope not.
It might be.
Yikes, man.
Right? Like, I'm not saying that it is, but there's it looks pretty freaking similar.
Okay, so we're talking maps, you know?
Yes.
And we're just going to touch upon this. Galadriel draws the marking that she has seen from Sauron's situation.
Correct.
And she hands it on over, and they see some things, and she figures out it's not just a mark, it's a map.
Yes.
And it's showing us where we're going. So I want us to think about the times when we have seen this mark. Where have you seen it?
You saw it in the northernmost waste.
On the slab that was hissing.
Yes, you saw it on Finrod's
chest.
Mm-hmm. And then you saw what it appeared to be the stranger drawing it.
I thought a little bit so too. And I also feel like it's the shape of the wrecked sword slightly that Theo holds, that it can kind of be seen a little bit like that, but I know that there's not enough spaces.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a stretch.
It's okay. To me, I can see it. What is interesting to think, so if Sauron has been leaving this as a map, if he's just been leaving his orcs a map, okay, this is where we're going, don't forget everybody, why did he put it on Finrod? Or did Finrod cut it in himself with his dagger so other people could find it?
That is a great take, Mary.
Because why would he put it on Finrod?
Yeah, why would he want to alert anybody?
Unless he's like, okay, orcs, if you find this one random dead body when there's mounds of dead bodies.
Unless it's a giant FU.
I feel like if Sauron did it, it would have been branded. It would have been burned into his flesh, not cut. And I think about Finrod's dagger and how that was still on him.
Yes, okay.
So I wonder if he left it as a map for Galadriel.
This is a great take, Mary.
Thanks.
You know what? I'm gonna co-sign officially.
Bam! Just like that. A winner!
Absolutely. I'm co-signing on this immediately.
He could have also just written, it's in the Southlands, Galadriel, please don't stop
Yeah,
trying.
but I feel like that, writing a whole sentence would probably take a lot.
Or write the word map underneath it. Compass rose. Something.
Oh, well, irrespective of that, Marvin, we do know that we get some kind of a map, and that is a map of history, because Galadriel is given essentially a brief rundown, and through Galadriel, it's we, the viewers, are given a brief rundown of some of the shared history between the elves and the Númenóreans, who, by the way, are the ancestors of the Gondorians. So the Númenor is eventually what becomes Gondor. I mean, not Númenor itself, because that's an island, but the Númenóreans become Gondorians. And it's kind of cool because the big place, the big palace or whatever it is fairly reminiscent of Minas Tirith. And, with the tree and the thing that juts out, and really cool. I like all of that. What is your take on the fact that elves are no longer welcome in Numenor?
I can appreciate it. Time has passed. That the queen says it hasn't been since her great-grandfather, like a grandfather's grandfather's time, since an elf has come here. So just like we got to see how time is different for dwarves compared to elves, I can greatly appreciate how time is different for humans versus elves, and how humans may now feel about those elves coming on their lands. However, part of me is like, Galadriel, you should know better.
Right.
You should know how they are going to react. She said as she walked in with Halbrand that she's full of sadness and sorrow, that it's changed so much, but I almost feel like she's surprised a little bit about how the queen reacts, and I thought Galadriel might have a better understanding of how this was going to go down.
Right. Well, the queen regent, Muriel, let's make that official. It's a queen regent. And that is not necessarily the queen, but it is someone that is in charge, that is not...
It's her dad who's the king.
Correct, who has been put away due to his love and affinity for the elves. And, speaking of that conversation shared between Elendil and Galadriel at the House of Lore, that to me feels like a loaded conversation. And that's one of those moments that I'm speaking about where I want to know more about what is going on, because those two characters are looking at the same thing, but through different eyes and different meanings. And Elendil's like, oh, of course you would know about Elros and Elrond, and thanks to the king we have here, this house still stands, like this House of Lore. And she's looking on it like with a fond memory, even though she got along better with Elrond as opposed to Elros. But he's looking at it, Elendil is almost looking at it through the eyes of like a myth or mystique.
Oh, because it was so long ago.
Right.
What happened to Elros?
And is the
person in the tapestry Elros, or Elros and Elrond twins? Because that'd be looking just like Elrond.
Oh, yeah.
Or is that tapestry of Elrond? I'm assuming it's of Elros.
That's of Elros, definitely, because they were looking at it with the intent that was Elros. However, Elrond is absolutely part of that tapestry. So I would love to know, and again, that's kind of what I was talking about, where I need to know more. I need to know more of where this is coming from, where this is going, and what exactly happened, right? Is Elros still around? Where did he end up?
No idea.
Right?
No idea.
I find that conversation kind of fascinating. And even though all of the interactions between Elendil and Galadriel, I find their interactions fantastic. Like the way that he speaks to her, I'm already invested in this relationship.
What was interesting is when he did compare her to his daughter and his son.
Yeah.
And obviously, visually, we're looking at Galadriel thinking, okay, she looks younger than him, but she's thousands of years old. So for him to be comparing her to his young adult children, oh, I see these spirits in you, the way he speaks to her like, oh, I get you. You're just this young person.
Yeah.
You don't understand how us adults work. You can't be stealing that ship. You poor little thing. And in my head, I'm saying, she is so much older than him.
And she would probably smoke you, bro.
Yes.
You would be 6 feet under before you could even blink an eye. And you're speaking to her that way.
Yep.
And she kind of says that, like, who are you to be speaking to me in any way that you think you know me? Like, it's great. But on the other hand, in the same respect, Isildur is talking to Elendil about Galadriel. Like, that's Galadriel. Like, oh my God, That's her.
Yes. Once again, these myths and everything.
And that's kind of why I go back to the Star Wars thing, because it reminds me of Luke saying, you were part of the rebellion? You fought the Empire? Like, again, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm throwing it out there. It's the Campbellian hero.
I can appreciate it.
It's what I'm getting. And was the reveal of like Morgoth and like the plan, like when she was reading the Black Speech, did that, like, for me, that was kind of like, duh.
It didn't shock me, but that's, of course, because we know the future. We, the viewers, know what happens in Lord of the Rings. We know darkness is coming. We know Sauron's coming. We know the rings are coming. And it has just been a feeling for Galadriel. It has been an inkling. And so for her to know this is real, to have some kind of evidence when she's been searching. I mean, think about it. She was put down by all of her elven friends. That kid that once threw rocks at her swan boat and then put her down and led the guys against her Thondir. You know, all these people, the king, the elvish king, like all these people have not stood by her. And now in her hand, she's holding some proof that there has been a plan. And she's been hearing from all these people that, yes, in effect, this has been happening. You are right, Galadriel.
Yeah. Queen Regent Muriel goes up to this tower towards the end of the episode, and she says, "Oh, what we feared is here. The elf has arrived." Mary, is she speaking to a dead body?
Oh my gosh, I really hope not.
Like, is she speaking to somebody that's not real?
Ooh.
Like, and that's why nobody's seen him. That's why he's up in the tower.
Ew.
And is she like kind of bananas?
I don't think so, but that'd be amazing.
Like, that's what they didn't show this king for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that feels to me a little bit underplayed here. Okay. It feels to me that people are overlooking this. Now, maybe he's not dead. Maybe it's just a picture. Maybe I don't know. Like, I'm not going to go full psycho here and pretend that there's a bag of bones sitting there like the mother in Psycho, okay? I'm not going to do that. However, it don't pass the smell test for me.
Agreed. There's a little suspense. Who is he? What does he look like? Does he have as beautiful a wardrobe as she does? I mean, that's what I'm here for, friends.
All right, so we talked about Queen Muriel. We talked about Galadriel and Elendil and Isildur.
Elendil, though, he's got Isildur. And we need to note that Isildur, when he's on the ship and he's staring off at the mountains,
yes,
we hear a little bit of some whispering, and we don't know exactly what that is. Something, of course, is calling to him. And what's really cool is he's staring off and he's getting shouted at by a fellow person on the ship to get his attention. And it reminded me so much of when Isildur in the future is going to be at Mount Doom and Elrond yells his name to hurry up and throw the dang ring in the fire. He's like, Isildur! And he's just entranced. You know, and someone is trying to call his name and bring him back to reality. So I absolutely loved that. And then, of course, Elendil's daughter, who Earian, one of Isildur's friends says, "Oh, you just keep, drawing and with your little sketches." So she ends up getting her letter to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry through an owl. Yeah. How to tell when the hosts aren't listening.
How to tell when the hosts aren't listening.
You have no idea what I just said, did you?
You said something about an owl.
Exactly. I said she just got her letter of acceptance from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And you're just looking around.
I was looking at my notes.
You're like Isildur. That's what you're like right now.
I was being called by my notes.
Oh, my goodness.
Mary, I'm going to give this to you. Why would you... Why would you just totally hang me like that?
That was just really fun. That was fun. Okay, so we're done with...
I heard owl. I'm like, sure.
So we're done with Isildur's family, but while we're still in let's chat about Halbrand. because he gets the dagger back.
Not Halbrand.
What? Like Halbrand?
Like Halbrand. Not Halbrand. Halbrand.
I love challah bread.
Challah bread is good.
It is so good.
You ever had challah bread with like French toast? Challah bread? Oh, yeah, baby.
I've made that for you. That's how you came to know it.
Oh, well, whatevs. I don't know.
You're welcome. Anyway, challah bread.
Did it come through from an owl?
Challah bread is a great pickpocket. As I said, he is Aladdin, one jump ahead of the bread line. Oh! No! So he steals the dagger, then he steals the button, essentially, because he wants to be a little blacksmith. Can we please note that while Challah bread is eating his muscles and stuff, and he ends up telling his friends, oh, you know what? I'm having a great time. Drinks on me. Where did Halbrand get his money?
Where was this money?
He pickpocketed it from them.
Must have had
He
to.
must have just been like, I just stole all of these jabronis' money while I've been sitting here eating my clams.
Beers are on me. I'll bring the beers.
Hit multiple rounds. I think he buys 3 rounds for that entire tavern.
Oh my goodness.
Gets them all a little tipsy. What? I don't remember the Queen Regent giving him money.
Yeah, it's not like he had like a little packet of coins
on him. So he
on
must have taken this money from all these people. Of course, he goes into the back alley, and the blacksmith peeps know what's going on. They get upset with him, and then he turns into Captain America.
Oh, and one of the really cool effects from this whole fight scene is when he snaps this guy's forearm. You can see the bones of the forearm like moving, like the guy was moving his arm.
Did.
And the bones are just moving on the stump.
We were there.
Like, wow, that was some excellent effects work.
Absolutely disgusting. So to me, I feel like maybe he wasn't imbibing in the beverages in the tavern. He was hoping that by getting everyone a little tipsy, he would be able to steal this. He goes in back, and these 5 guys who are assaulting him and trying to get their button back.
Not small dudes, by the way.
No.
Not small dudes.
So why is he so strong?
Mary,
I don't know.
This is why I want to send Halbrand off to space.
Because he was saying some nice stuff. He got the dagger back for Galadriel. I was feeling pretty good. And then he's got some weird music going on when he's fighting people. And it's not Captain America, cheer for the good guy.
I can do this all day.
It's not Galadriel, I'm killing a snow troll.
Nope.
There's got a little darkness to his music.
It's a little bit of Mordor style music here.
He face smashes that guy.
And he says to them, please don't do this. And it's not what we eventually realize is, please don't do this because I don't want to get my butt handed to me, but because I don't want to do this to you. Right?
I was about ready for him to have some Spider-Man web slingers, boom, boom, and scurry off the wall.
There's something about Halbrand that is interesting. And there is that scene where he's staring off into the distance. He's got the 1,000-yard stare, right? And then as these guys are talking to him about oh, maybe, you're a nobody, whatever. And he's he kind of jumps up and goes, you know what? You're right. I'm here on your island and this is the deal and yada, yada. Something will pass the smell test with him. And I kind of like it. I kind of like the fact that when you're around Halbrand, I feel like anything can happen. And that's when you know you have a good character. Like we're doing the podcast about House of the Dragon. And one of the characters that we keep saying, I think that is carrying the show so far is Daemon, right? And that's because not only is Matt Smith electric on screen, but because when he is around,
boogie,
boogie, anything can happen. And he could act one way, totally evil, and you'd be like, yep, that's about right. Or he could do something that is totally nice and deferential, and you'd be like, yep, that makes sense too. I'm getting that feeling from Halbrand, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because so far, with all the archetypes that we've discussed, and Galadriel being the main character, one who is of utmost good, and there are characters being utmost bad, there is a little bit of gray in Halbrand. And do you think that is an asset so far, Mary?
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I will say it adds into, because she got his DNA test, essentially, showing who he is, how he is king of the Southlands, descendant of, and all this kind of stuff. To me, now I'm taking him being Sauron off the table a little bit, because this can't just be a random mask. But does that mean that he's not bad? No, I still think he's a bad dude. I still don't trust him. And I still feel like he's going to play a part in this evil army in some way, shape, or form. Maybe he himself becomes like one of the Witch King or something like that.
You just stole my hot take. You just stole it. I was going to say he becomes the lead ring wraith.
I mean, because think about that. He is supposed to be a king.
Right. And his land is freaking Mordor.
Yep.
Like, there's as Galadriel says, all of this is destiny. Like there's no happenstance.
Oh, but she's just so excited and hopeful and sweet.
Right.
And he's told her appearances can be deceiving.
So yeah, right. And is this the show telling you up front not to trust him? Or is this the show giving you a red herring? Like,
the show is trying to make us like him. When he tells Galadriel to kneel, and then the Queen Regent says, we don't kneel here, and he says, sorry, that's a little humanizing thing. He gets her dagger back. Humanizing, cute thing. We get to see him begging to be a blacksmith. You know, I feel like a lot of this episode, and then having Galadriel come to him with somewhat of a smile and a gentle nature. We're supposed to be teammates. This is fantastic. We're supposed to be confused about him.
Yeah.
But when you dig a little deeper.
Dig a little deeper.
Hey, I was waiting for you, Disney.
You.
Thank you. Thank you, Princess Tiana. I'm just, like you said, not passing the smell test.
So here's the other thing about him, too, that I keep thinking of, which is, why does he want so badly to work as a smith? Like, he is intent. Is it just because he wants to start over and he doesn't even want to go back to the Southlands? Or does he need to make something before he gets to the Southlands?
I'm all set. I'm passing
I'm
on him.
I'm telling you. Nope. This is a Tupperware full of bad fish.
Gross. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, talking about bad things, something that probably smells like bad fish is hanging out with the orcs.
Oh, yeah. I got to tell you,
this definitely would not be an episode we would watch with our children.
Oh, no. The violence here, especially with the warg, is pretty intense.
Aside from that warg looking like a rabies-infested chihuahua face. Animated chihuahua face.
It's an intense sequence. I think the action in this sequence is very good. Arondir running up the chains and just hacking down that little tent.
I have been racking my brain on how I know Arondir, because I am all in now in Arondir.
Okay, yep.
Arondir, the actor, was on Sesame Street.
Stop it.
Swear to God.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I think he was on when our eldest would have been watching Sesame Street with us. I remember him singing at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with the Roots.
Stop it.
He was part of a giant Sesame Street campaign to have a new Latino member on Sesame Street. He's from Puerto Rico. It was basically American Idol, but for Sesame Street.
No.
And he made it.
Wow.
And that is how he
this.
got his big break.
Interesting.
Was chilling with Elmo. On Sesame Street, but he can sing, he can do dance, like he's a multifaceted
Elmo go
person.
kill orcs.
Yeah. So as you see Arondir jump around, slashing orcs,
wow,
playing with the work, know that this guy
Elmo
got his start on Sesame Street.
Wow, interesting. All the special effects are great, and here's another thing that happens too: the deaths of the other elves are played off very dramatically. Especially like the guy that was the boss with the arrows and how he turns around and the arrows come in and you see it and then he gets hit again. It's almost like Boromir.
Yes.
Does that work for you? Like, because it's calling back to some DNA of what the Lord of the Rings.
Hold up a picture of him.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Mando. Armando. Yep.
Look
Mando.
at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was straight up
Sesame Street.
on Sesame Street.
You're welcome.
Wow. So do these deaths do they work for you, or and if they don't,
I
that's
think they
fine.
were great. It's amazing because, as I've said before, it's hard sometimes to connect with the elf characters because of just the way that their personality traits are.
Mm-hmm.
And Arondir, maybe it's his ruggedness of his elf type, but I just feel a lot for him. So knowing that he's this romantic, and now seeing how he wants to stand up for his fellow patriot elves, just trying to make things work. I believe everything. I believe everything in this, and it was very scary and it was intense. He, of course, is the one that gets to realize that the sunlight is something that's really bothering the orcs. I loved how the orcs even used what seemed to be like a snake skin.
Oh, right, to cover them up, and then he bangs the thing down, and they all get singed. You could hear the frying sound, right?
Yes,
I thought that was a really
sizzling.
nice sound design there. Really quite liked that. So I guess the big thing that comes out of this, Mary, is Adar. All right. And who is Adar? And is it Sauron? Right. I hope it's not. I hope it's like an underling of Sauron. Like the gloves that he's wearing certainly is reminiscent of Sauron. But again, we're referencing. Well, I mean, I guess we're not. We see a design of Sauron in the show. So we're not referencing necessarily the Lord of the Rings.
Looked
very
thin
pale.
And not the same shape as the orcs.
Agreed. So I don't think that he's an orc.
He looked manly or elven to me.
Yes, and orcs are, as they said in the show, like elves who have been, who have fallen, right? So it's an interesting question if it is Sauron. I don't think that it is. But how do you feel about the episode for the second time in a row? Leaving on a cliffhanger with someone being introduced, but in a blurred out fashion. Like last episode, it was Galadriel meeting who we eventually come to find as Elendil, and in this one, it's just like, oh, here's Adar, and they don't show you who it is, and it's the same exact trick.
I actually was fine with it until you just said it. It reminds me a lot of chapter book cliffhangers, and knowing that this show is on a streaming service, and in the future when people are watching this and they're able just to binge it, I get it. I get why services like this want people to feel, yes, let me stay up one more episode. It didn't bother me that we got introduced to somebody else. I like that he's blurred. I like that we don't get to see what he's like, because now we get to have these really exciting conversations of who is it.
Right. What really works for me in this whole sequence is when Arondir finally goes and says, all right, I'll do the tree. And he like almost apologizes to the tree because, he is a wood elf, right? Mm-hmm. But he finally gets up there and he looks around and he sees that the whole place has just been obliterated, right? And that is what the beginnings of what we have come to know as Mordor.
The elves did a terrible job.
Right? Like,
you
how do you not see this?
You were supposed to watch over this land. You let orcs tunnel under all of these lands all this time. You've been here for 70 years.
Sleeping at the wheel, baby.
And yet, what, did you never leave your tower? Did you only go down to flirt at the well, and that was it? Did you not go over the lands to make sure everything was A-okay? How did this happen?
It was like Homer Simpson at the nuclear power plant. Just sitting there, feet on the manual, and drinking a cup of coffee or a Duff beer. You can just imagine one of those guys just drinking Duff, looking out, going, "Yep, good day today. Can't see nothing."
What's really fun is that this character is not included in the written works, the Tolkien written works.
Yeah.
So this is an exciting adventure for all of us who are watching this show,
right? Because
we all get to try to see, what this new character is, who this person is, and how things are going to work out.
Right.
Okay.
One last thing, Mary. The Harfoots. We got the Harfoots.
Okay. I remember how last episode I said I think that the Harfoots are going to be killed. Most of their race is going to be ended. You know, that's why they're not in the future. I actually hope that they do die. These people suck. They suck so much. Rest in peace, Blovo, Blubber, Buck, the one who was killed by bees, and they all laugh.
Yep. And he calls him an idiot.
Yeah. And then there's Poppy, who's having a moment as they list off her and what I believe to be her entire family who was lost, I think, maybe in a mudslide or something.
Sure.
And then
Stats of a nerd.
She has to pull her caravan by herself.
Yeah.
By herself.
Just.
They don't put poor little orphan Poppy at the front. Nobody's helping her out. Poppy, good luck. Sarok just keeps singing that thing. We don't go alone. You stick to the trail. And yet, no, not true. Listen to all these people who you did leave behind.
So what are you saying?
You sing all the time saying, we never leave anybody behind. And then you have a whole song or you have a whole spiel of all the people you did leave behind.
You get a whole book of people.
You are as bad as Rose on Titanic. Never let go. And then you let go. Never let go, Jack. And then I'm going to unhinge your hand.
And then she said, no, she actually says, I'll never let go.
Yeah, I'll never let go. And then she does. She cracks
30
his
seconds
icy
later,
fingers of clinging to life and lets him
breaks
go.
off his thumb and says, see you later.
Sarok and Rose, you are on the same raft, in my opinion. I hope you both disappear. I hope all of those little Harfoots that are super far ahead, I hope they get eaten by a warg, and that way Poppy and the Brandyfoots can live together happily with the stranger and he can kill them all. I am so over these people.
Mary coming with the Chernobyl take.
Oh, my goodness.
That is a Chernobyl take right there.
You deserve it.
Holy smokes.
Oh, he killed all the fireflies. What about all your people? Malva? She needs to be the first to go.
Oh, my God. Immediately.
Malva.
Yeah, you're going to get decaravaned. Get out of here.
Oh, my God.
Not even like a, hey, you know what? You're like 7 years old. Maybe you made a mistake.
Malva is the Karen of the Harfoots.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And for those of you named Karen, I'm sorry, and I know how much you hate this. Trust me, my name's Mary. I've had a lot of jokes about Marys my whole life.
But it is what it is.
The equivalent of the Karen is the Malva.
0 to 60 in less than a millisecond.
We should have known. Those of us in Outlander, we should have known. Her name's Malva.
When you get Malva weird, you never go back. You never go full Malva weird. Only you Outlander fans will get that joke.
So we have the stranger who picks up the little star chart after such a fun moment of Poppy and Nori trying to get that thing, and he starts looking at it, and all of the fires around the Harfoot start to kind of sparkle and flame up a little bit more.
So this tells me that he doesn't know anything. Meaning, like
he's basically a squib.
He is a squib, but like he doesn't even recognize how powerful he is. And I don't think he understands the consequences of what he's doing. Like he doesn't even understand the fact that if you hold a piece of paper too close to the fire, that thing's gonna go up, right? Like that happens.
I know.
And then he just kind of like stumbles for 45 seconds into this camp, and then my heart broke just a little bit. When he turns around after he breaks free of all the netting and he just says, Nori? Like, Nori? Like, dude, gosh. I feel horrible for you. Because
I feel horrible for Nori. That's so embarrassing.
I totally agree. That girl her whole little plan just went down the thing. Speaking of that little plan, totally could have done without the whole stuff with Sadek and Poppy and Nori hiding underneath the...
I liked that. That's what I just said was super cute.
No. Send it to the wind.
Oh,
I'm
of course
out.
you don't like it.
Because all she had to do was just wait. She had to wait.
No, he would have scooped it. He would have picked his book and scooped it.
I don't know.
But I will say, Sadek saying, okay, we're not going to banish Nori. She just has to go to the back.
That, you know what? A little bit of making up for the fact that Malva Malva went from 0 to 100. Like she went from, hey, everything is awesome to you're gonna die.
Malva.
Oh,
and they're just so mean. I mean, Nori's dad twisted / broke his foot.
That guy straight up broke his ankle.
To put up a tarp for everybody. He's just been a nice guy helping everybody with wheels.
And they're like, hey, sorry, bro.
I'm sorry.
Why don't you go to the back?
But if you are in a caravan, you probably want to keep your wheel person alive.
Right.
If none of you know how to deal with wheels, you probably want him. And then Nori's, I believe, stepmother, because her father says, oh, after so-and-so died, Rosie died, then I saw you and you've brought so much joy. So I'm now thinking that it's Nori's stepmom.
Yep, sure.
She is not that nice to Nori.
Not at all. The highest milkweed gets snipped.
Oh, my God.
Man, can you imagine saying that to your kid?
No.
Like, that is brutal stuff. Brutal stuff. So it shows you the kind of world that Nori is living in. But I think the moment of the show for all the Harfoots comes from Poppy. She says, there's common sense and then there's nonsense. And if you're all out of the former, you can borrow some of mine. Might be the best line of the whole show. You can borrow some of mine. Good stuff coming from Poppy out of there.
That's right.
Once again, as we were watching this, I looked at Poppy and Nori and then all their interactions. I turned to Mary and said, that's you and I.
Truly is.
All of it.
And so now the stranger is going to supposedly pull their carts and keep them up with the caravan. We do not know how Malva's going to take this. Mm-hmm. We don't know if they're going to decide to continue to be on the same way. So...
yeah, so we'll see how that all goes. All right, you got anything else that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I would love
episode?
to play the Numenor piece.
Oh,
this
sure.
This is my favorite from this episode.
Well, I didn't know that this was coming,
and
so
obviously,
bear with me for a moment.
We love it because we use it here in the show itself.
All right, here it is.
But it's just... it actually reminds me a bit of pieces from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, well, no, this is straight up Battlestar Galactica here. This is if you ever listen to BSG, this is BSG the whole way.
Oh, nice. You're right. And we get just this grand... I like it because it still allows everything to kind of breathe a little bit. You're feeling foreign. You're feeling like something epic is coming.
Yeah.
But it is dramatically different. The way the instruments are being played. And we get to see, I love it because it opens with the architecture of the place itself being so different. We have the towers and then the flame lights up as the ship comes in. We've got these huge boulders with people carved inside of it.
Oh, also reminiscent of Gondor, by the way. Mm-hmm. Like that's a thing that they do.
Now we have all of these male voices coming in, and we've heard a lot of the male voices before with the dwarves. And this is a bit more gentle, but still adding this, to me, a big sense of strength.
Yes.
That, yes, this is different, and this is...
it feels more heroic as opposed to industrial, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I can... and then, of course, we add in the higher voices, and to me, this is just soaring and magnificent. We've got those beautiful higher horns, some French horns, like you were saying, adding in that heroic fanfare feeling of it.
Yep.
And then right here, this is just grandeur. Like, this is the city that blows your mind visually.
Right. Awesome.
So
and again, it's full of different styles. Like, this feels very Middle Eastern to me, right? This feels like just foreign. I don't know how else to explain it. But you combine that with the higher voices. It reminds me of the elves. It feels more of like a heroic, the strength of man feel from the Southlands, or I'm not the Southlands, but from Gondor itself. Yeah, this is like just a really cool amalgam, I think, of the entire show put into this one theme.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, well, Blake and I, before we even watched this, the series, and we just started to really listen to the soundtrack, trying to figure out which pieces do we want.
Yeah.
We featured on our podcast. This one stood out.
Yeah, we heard this
right
one
away.
We were like, "Yep, this is it.
This is
this is it." We were in our little Mini Cooper, and we were driving along. We were eating Sonic, and I said, "Yep, this is it."
That was what we did that whole day.
I know.
We just took the kids driving around Rhode Island.
And we listened to this album.
We listened to it, and we said we have to pick our songs. And Dan McCurry did done good.
You were drinking Slurpees.
Slushies.
Slushies, whatever. Same thing.
It was a blue coconut slushie.
I grew up as a slush puppy kid.
Oh. We don't really do those in Rhode Island.
No, not anymore. All right. Anything else you want to talk about, my love?
That is it.
All right. Good. You ready to get into some trivia?
Yes.
All right. Hold on one second. Let's find my button for it. Come on, Blake. Here we go. Here it is. Let's do some trivia. All right, so most of the details and elaborations in this show are derived from The Lord of the Rings, its prologue entitled Concerning Hobbits, and its appendices, A through F, where the intrepid traveler may journey to discover even farther horizons. So that's where all this information is being derived. Once slaves of the dark power themselves, orcs have been known to enslave even their own kind and have often forced their conquered enemies into hard labor at their cruel hands.
Pause. What do we think the orcs are digging for? We didn't get to talk about that.
Well, I think they're digging to get to the place where they're supposed to be, because they can't just run through the sun, right?
But the elves say it's like we're digging for something.
Good point.
We're not just making a highway.
I don't know. But they have to travel, right?
They have to travel, yes, but the way that it was said when Arondir first arrived, they made it feel like we've been digging for something.
Good point. And here's a little bit of...
I think it's the sword. I think it's Theo's sword.
Ooh, good one. I like that idea.
They're looking for it.
Yep,
Watch out,
I agree.
Theo.
Oh, speaking of sword, is the sword that Elendil is given by Queen Muriel?
I didn't understand what she was meaning by that. Are you telling me to kill her? What are you doing?
Is that the sword, do you think, that Isildur will eventually use to cut off Sauron's fingers?
Sure, why not? I really don't know.
I don't know either. It's just a guess. I'm just throwing that out there. All right. The central wharf of Numenor's capital city is towered over by a statue of Eärendil the Mariner, the half-elven savior of Middle-earth in the Elder Days, and the forebearer of this human kingdom's royal line. Interesting. So I wonder what that means for Elendil, because he was supposed to be part of the royal line, right?
Yes.
That's what they said in the show.
Yes.
So that's, and like, what is he saying? Like, there's no more part of the Western Shores for us. Like, I wonder what that is when he was saying that to Isildur.
I didn't know.
That's interesting. Very good stuff. The ancestors of the Númenóreans were called the Edain, the men and women who first went west in Middle-earth. They were allies of the elves in the First Age War against Morgoth. Speaking that, Númenor is an island. That's why it's kind of like really into ships and all the ocean, and the ocean never lies, because they have to be. They're like the England, okay? They're like England off of, they're in between Valinor and Middle-earth.
Yes.
So that's how that goes. All right. Númenóreans are mariners of great renown and lords of many ships on their island, which is also called Elena. But they are forbidden from sailing west out of sight of their own shores by the ban of the Valar to prevent them from seeking the Undying Lands themselves. Mm-hmm. The Valar are from Valinor, and that is from where Galadriel descends. It is a mark of evil things that came into the great darkness that they cannot abide by the sun. Some orcs can endure its light better than others, but they all hate it and only seldom will journey in the open while the sun shines.
I mean, that's basically me in the summer, too.
So just picture Mary as an orc running around with
Where's
like
my
a
SPF 100? It's been 2 hours. I need to reapply.
Sylvan elves hold a great love for trees, delighting in their wood and life within them, often watching them grow from acorns to ruinous old age. Given enough time, they say that they might even hear the voices of the trees and understand their thoughts. In contrast to the lesser men, or low men, who remained in Middle-earth, the Númenóreans were gifted a lifespan for greater than their cousins who were left behind, up to 3 times a normal human lifetime in earlier days. Interesting. And that's why they were calling, what the heck is Halbrand, low man. Mm-hmm. See, there you go. Elros, the king of Númenor, who ruled under the name Tar-Miniator was a half-elf like his brother Elrond, but when given the choice by the Valar, he chose mortality and a human life.
Aww.
Interesting.
Cutie.
So guess that's where he is. He's probably croaked by now. Halflings delight in parties, and the Harvest Festival is a tradition meant to help the Harfoots prepare for the arduous migration that lies ahead. Harfoots use a pictographic writing system that uses symbols to convey meanings that can help to note important natural rhythms and tabulations, which can help them better prepare for future migrations. The wide world is always around the Harfoots. They're vulnerable and unable to fence out the many dangers that exist for small-sized creatures like themselves. And Sadik Burrows is the Harfoot's trail finder and leads the caravan. He uses his unique star book passed down through the generations to guide the Harfoots on the right course from one seasonal haven to the next. The Númenóreans' love of sea extends to all elements of their culture. The statue in the center of the chamber where Halbrand is being held is a personification of the sea itself, as this was not originally a dungeon, but rather reappropriated as one sometime in the past. Everything the Harfoots own, they make or find, and then carry with them inside their carts, their most valued possessions. All of them are in those carts,
including snails.
And wargs are akin to wolves and are closely aligned with orcs in the darkness they serve. And that is that. Mary, that's the end of the trivia. Got anything for me?
Interesting, cool stuff. And once again, we're here to make sure that you don't miss a moment, and if you don't get to have those little extra bits during your viewing.
All right, you got any hot takes? Any more hot takes?
No.
I don't have one because I already gave you my hot take. I think that Halbrand is going to be the lead ringwraith. However, there is a hot take that I want to call out from one of our listeners. You ready for it? Mm-hmm. All right, so this one comes from Janelle McKenney, and she says she thinks that Sauron has Gil-galad captive in a dungeon somewhere, and he is posing as the High King himself. Ooh. This is why he calls the elves away from the Southlands, and this is why he sends his most dedicated rival to Valinor. And the only time we see him alone, he picks up a leaf that has black creeping up the stem from his hand.
Ew.
Interesting stuff. I love this take. Mm-hmm. It's a little Harry Pottery. It's
Why?
Because of hashtag spoilers,
No.
Mad Eye Moody.
No, I wouldn't think that it was Harry Pottery. I would just say that it's very much like Sauron. Sauron is in disguise frequently.
Correct. So I love this idea. And I wonder if Gil-galad was sent Elrond to go help Celebrimbor, knowing that Elrond would use his ties to the dwarves to help make this thing, this tower, for the One Ring. Like I wonder if this is all happening.
Really cool. Yeah.
I think this is a cool idea, man.
I like it too.
I'm in on this idea. I will co-sign.
I concur.
Did you officially co-sign?
I mean, I'm not co-signing, but I think it's cool.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm not co-signing.
I'm going to co-sign.
Go for it.
All right, cool. All right, anything else?
That's it.
All right, let's close it out, shall we?
We shall. We want to thank you once again so incredibly much for taking the time to listen to this podcast episode. And if you feel so inclined, just screenshot your phone right now and pop it up in your stories. Pop it on your wall. Let people know that they can check out this podcast if they are watching this show as well. There are so many people out there who are still not podcast listeners.
I know, it's wild.
And yet they love this show. And they want to talk about it with people. Right. So let them know. Bring them into the podcast world, my friends. Let them know about it. Tag Blake and myself. Tag Mary and Blake Media. You can also join our exclusive Facebook community. just head on over to Facebook and search Mary and Blake.
Or you can go to jointhenerdclan.com. That is our special community where our members get a lot of different cool stuff, a lot of different tools and fun free swag and gifts from Mary and I, and special chats and early access to episodes and special episodes. It never runs out at jointhenerdclan.com. So go there, check that out, and help support us while you're at it. And look for Mary and I on all of the different social media platforms, whether it is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, I don't know, you freaking everything. We're there. We're ready to have a good conversation and nerd out with you and all your friends about not only the Rings of Power, but the other show that we have going on right now for House of the Dragon, as well as everything else that we have going on at maryandblake.com, which is, I just did a count. We have upwards of 15 different podcasts there.
I believe it.
So as Mary looks at me with her eyes half closed, tired as hell.
Hey, it's part of having long COVID.
I know, that's true. All right, that's it, Mary.
Thank you, everybody. My name's Mary.
My name is Blake.
And you've been listening to The Rings of Power with Mary and Blake. Talk soon, friends.